More Jeffrey Epstein news. And it's because the war in Iran, the distraction is waning off. Epstein wrote a suicide note. And we know this because his cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, found it. It was tucked inside a graphic novel left behind in the cell after Epstein was moved following his first failed attempt in July 2019. And this note said, according to his cellmate, "What do you want me to do? Bust out crying?" And then said, "Time to say goodbye." And then it proclaimed his innocence. And that note was verified by experts as being written by Epstein. But then it was sealed by a federal judge as part of his cellmate's criminal case. And nobody, not the investigators who looked into Epstein's death, not the DOJ's own inspector general who published a report back in 23, not the team that released the Epstein files. Nobody has had access to this note. And if that's all it said, I wonder why. And the New York Times, they are petitioning the court to unseal this. And as of now, the judge has still kept it sealed. We're 7 years after Epstein's death. A sealed courthouse vault with a verified document that we think was authentic. They're saying that it was, but we can't see it. There's federal investigators. They've never seen this note. And again, I want to be extremely careful here because this topic, it's been overtaken by conspiracy theories I'm not going to push. The problem is that a lot of the conspiracy theories, man, the evidence keeps pointing to them. So I'm going to say this out loud. I do not know who killed Jeffrey Epstein, if someone other than Jeffrey Epstein killed him. What I do know is that this man, who had documented connections to dozens of powerful people, including the President of the United States, Jeffrey Epstein also ran a trafficking network that implicated many of those people. And he died in federal custody under circumstances that included guards sleeping on the job, cameras that didn't work, and paperwork filed under someone else's name, and the note he apparently wrote before a previous attempt, a note that was verified as his, has been sealed in a courthouse for 7 years, invisible to investigators, all while Congress had a mandate to release the Epstein files. And they produced something, but you'd think that the suicide note would be a crucial piece of evidence. And now you're relying on the New York Times to go to court to fight to get it unsealed. Look, the Trump administration is still bragging about releasing the Epstein files. They're still bragging that it has cleared Trump's name. But the files they released didn't include this note, and it didn't include a lot of the files that we believe still include Donald Trump's name, which, frankly, the DOJ may not have even known about this note because it was sealed from federal investigators because it was a separate case under a different docket. This is either an extraordinary failure of bureaucracy or an extraordinary coincidence. And in the Epstein case, I am learning a lot more that coincidences don't exist. But either way, it is not acceptable that 7 years on, a newspaper is having to try to unseal this document. That 7 years later, we're just now investigating a ranch in New Mexico. 7 years later, the files still aren't public. Every document related to this case should be public. The families of these victims deserve to know everything. And the DOJ has already doxed them. They've already caused them pain. And frankly, so does the public. The public needs to know how the institutions have failed these victims at every level. Unseal the note and unseal everything. Do me a favor. This is the type of story that we need to keep sharing to keep it alive. The mainstream media is scared to talk about any of the Epstein files. So do me a favor, share this story everywhere. We need it.